no gas.
And we stand out like sore thumbs here, so they're wondering why we're here with cameras, interviewing people. They want to know what's happening and what people are saying. That's why people are not talking to us much.
They're asking why we're trying to leave the hotel early.
They want to talk to us.
Cuba right now is facing one of the largest humanitarian crises in the world. Cuba's government is a one-party communist-ruled country, and they are facing massive food shortages, daily blackouts, and a lack of medicine. And right now, a U.S. blockade is restricting oil and gas from coming inside of the country. With communism and socialism on the rise in the West, I wanted to see what life in communism is really like firsthand, as Cuba has been living underneath communism for over 60 years. Upon arrival, I completed all required documents and had received a visa for journalistic activity. However, once I landed, all my camera gear was seized, and within 24 hours, I was planning my escape out of Cuba after their intelligence followed me all day and a 2-star general came searching for me at the hotel. Now let's go see the reality of Cuba and eventually plan our escape out of Cuba. Where are the people at? ¿Dónde está la gente? No hay nadie aquí en la calle, no hay nadie aquí en estas casas. ¿Dónde está la gente?
The problem is that there's no gasoline. It's not easy to move. Anyway, we have a lot of limitation for work.
None of the gas stations are even in operation right now because there's quite literally no gas. When the United States captured Maduro, their main supplier of gas and oil was shut off. So the country right now has hardly any gas, and if you do want to get gas, you have to wait in a line from the government. The guy that we're in our taxi with right now, he said his position to get gas is $1,200 in line, and gas from the government costs around $1, but gas, if you were to buy it on the black market, costs $10 per liter. That's $40 per gallon if you were to buy gas here in Cuba. Before they captured Maduro, was there gasoline in the gas stations?
Always. It was easy. Nowadays it's really bad, but it was easy to get gasoline.
And for you,
Every day you can go to the gasoline station and buy it normally. It was normal, but nowadays it's really bad.
¿Y cómo está sobreviviendo la gente aquí en Cuba?
Just imagine the reality of it. With 1,000 sacrifices and 1,000 daily struggles, the average Cuban citizen is the one really going through absolute hell here in this country.
It's so interesting being here in Cuba because everything is just like empty. It's almost very like North Korea like when you come into a massive plaza and there's not even cars. Like, listen, right now you can't even hear a car in sight. And they have all this other portraits of people and past leaders of Cuba, yet there's hardly anyone even here. It's very strange here. They're saying that this is even more quiet than during COVID, during the pandemic. Less people are even leaving the streets than during the pandemic. That's how bad the crisis is right now. And the Cuban people simply just don't have money, and they also just do not have the resources like gasoline to be able to go out and continue their normal lives right now. We headed to a nearby hospital, and from this moment on, we noticed we were being followed by Cuban police and their intelligence after the word got out as asking people about communism. Inside of a communist country, there's no such thing as freedom of speech or freedom of the press. In fact, if you speak out against the current regime or against communism, your neighbor can then report you to an area inside of the neighborhood where the government or the police will then come after you, and you have the risk of being imprisoned for speaking out against the regime. And what's the reality of living inside of communism? ¿Qué es la realidad de vivir en comunismo?
Son presidentes todos, son jefes todos.
El gobierno.
Eso sí, así que funciona.
Hay mucha gente que está muriendo
Que están muriendo
por el comunismo.
por eso mismo, porque no hay pastillas, no hay nada para darle a la gente.
And what would be your last message to the people about living life in communism?
Bueno, el último mensaje que daré es que lo más malo que hay aquí en Cuba es el comunismo, que viven todos en comunismo. Eso es lo más malo que hay aquí en Cuba ahora mismo, el comunismo.
¿Y qué piensa ahora de su propio presidente, Canal?
Bueno, yo pienso que no tiene la capacidad para ser presidente, porque nos estamos muriendo de hambre. Si no trabajamos, nos morimos de hambre.
And do you believe that it's the responsibility of the government to give food to the people? ¿Crees que es la responsabilidad del gobierno para dar comida a la gente?
Sí. Porque son los jefes, tienen que abastecer al pueblo.
¿Qué piensa de lo que está haciendo Donald Trump con el aceite y con la gasolina, como no está dejando gasolina para entrar? See, like people are very scared to answer and even give questions and responses here because of communism. And because when you say communism, when they say that they control the food or they control the jobs, they also control the freedom of press here. So a lot of people aren't used to talking on camera. And ¿qué piensa eso de
Que se singa Díaz Canel. Que se singa Díaz Canel.
Security had noticed that 2 random individuals had appeared while we were doing these interviews, and they decided it was time to leave. So what happened while we were conducting some of those interviews?
Right now, while we were finishing one of the interviews, some undercover cops, you could just tell they're undercover cops. They came out of nowhere. They got on better used phones than the average person here, and they were right away communicating with each other, and they were trying to corner us out. So that's why we had to get out of there.
So you do have government spies going around making sure that certain things aren't said.
Of course, and we stand out like sore thumbs here. So they're wondering why we're here with cameras, interviewing people. They want to know what's happening and what people are saying. That's why people are not talking to us much.
And it's also, you don't ever see any videos come out of Cuba.
That's 100% why you don't see videos come out of Cuba. It's very limited, the videos that you see come out of Cuba, because they control everything.
We headed into downtown Havana with the hopes that we'd shake off the 2 spies that were telling us. And I want you to notice the pure decay here. The streets and the buildings look like they're about to fall apart, and this is due to 50 years.
Hello?
What you doing?
I'm working.
Hello? You're working?
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like you're in a car.
Yeah, I just left the job. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, 2 things.
Yeah.
The dryer is not drying.
It's not getting hot?
Okay, these clothes are not, it's not staying like I put it, I started.
Is it getting hot?
No, can I tell you what's going on? The dryer is not drying the clothes.
Okay.
I put it on the 116, the full, what is this, heavy duty.
Mm-hmm.
And then within maybe 3 minutes into the 116, it stops. And then it spins, and then the screen says 1 minute.
Okay.
It
needs cleaning, all that stuff on them white towels. That's got to be cleaned out.
All right, so what you need me to do? Move this stuff so you can...
It's got to be torn apart.
Okay, so I need to move this stuff out of the way?
Yeah, or use the clothesline because it's going to take some work.
Yeah, I'm not taking my clothes out there. Okay. Bird shit all over it.
Well, that's what it's got to happen. I got to tear it all down.
Okay.
That's what it is. It thinks all your clothes are dry.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's doing. And that's why I had to keep drying your clothes, because you had it in there and it was damp. It wasn't dry, so I had to keep drying it, and then you took it out. Now I'm trying to dry my red towels, and every few minutes it's like, stop it. It's getting, this shit is getting.
It don't see your clothes anymore. It sees that lint that's being that trap. It done got on the sensors, and they think the whole load is dry, so it cuts it off.
So what trap? Because I clean up this lint thing right here.
Out and all that white stuff be in there.
I clean that out. Yeah,
okay,
it's clean.
The sensors are in there. That's why I said it's got to be tore down, because it don't see the clothes no more.
Okay, so you said that you was working, but you're in the car. So where are you going now?
I just told you I left the customer's house.
Okay, I just asked where you're going now. Did you not hear me? Oh, okay. So you're not going to Stockbridge to look for the sheriffs?
No, because I had an extra call that took me away from there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right.
The dollar does go a lot farther here. In fact, the average salary of someone here for the month is $14 USD. So right now we're exchanging here on the streets of Cuba, and you get a lot better price for your dollar versus if you were to do it at the airport here in Cuba. How would you say life is here in Cuba?
La situación está mala.
What do you think is going to happen with the future of Cuba?
Ustedes que vengan para acá.
¿Crees que los Estados Unidos van a tomar Cuba?
Claro que sí. Claro, tú puedes para acá.
¿Y te gustaría que los Estados Unidos toman Cuba?
Claro que sí.
¿Y por qué?
Porque que vengan, no está aquí tan malo. Claro, para trabajar con ustedes.
So what's your opinion about communism?
El comunismo es malo.
And why is it bad? ¿Por qué está mal?
No está malo, no hay comida aquí.
¿Qué fue el cambio después de Maduro fue capturado? Yeah, they can't talk about it. It's kind of interesting to asking about these political situations that you could talk about in the United States completely freely, but a lot of people are timid, and you have to respect that because you don't want to put them in a bad situation. But people are very timid to talk about stuff politically here in the streets of Cuba. So, I mean, look at this one. You have coming down the street right here. This is just normal here in Cuba. It's kind of weird. The reason for the old cars here in Cuba is because in 1959 is when communism took effect, and the United States then later put an embargo on Cuba, which stopped new companies from working with Cuba. So all they had left was cars from the 1950s and earlier. Innovation tends not to take place in communism because there's no incentive for an entrepreneur to go out and create something because he'll receive no benefit because the state or the country, the government controls what goes in and out, and also how much money you take from that underneath communism. So it completely kills entrepreneurship, which then kills innovation, and then you come up with a stagnant society like this one here in Cuba, where they have not developed any much further than since around the 1950s. All these buildings here are still standing from the 1950s, but they have not innovated, or there's nothing new here inside this country. It's actually kind of sad to see.
This man right here will explain just how dangerous it is to speak out against communism inside of a communist country.
How's life in communism? ¿Qué es la realidad? What's the reality of it?
El comunismo. Ya. Esa parte ahí no te puedo contestar esa parte porque no sé qué decirte.
La gente aquí, the people here, no pueden hablar sobre el comunismo o hablar en contra del gobierno.
Aquí tú hablas en contra del comunismo y te meten preso. Te desaparecen. Lo que pasa es que la gente tiene miedo a hablar, ¿me entiendes? Pero aquí tú hablas y te desapareces.
So if you speak bad about communism here in Cuba, you'll be taken to prison and you'll just disappear.
Te pueden meter días preso, ¿me entiendes? Te dan golpe y todo.
¿Es imposible para hablar sobre comunismo?
No tengo nada que decir.
Okay. Yeah, this is what's super interesting about talking about communism. They cannot speak bad about communism here inside of Cuba.
And because of the lack of oil inside the country, there's constant blackouts that are taking place each and every single day inside of Cuba. It's even affecting the education of the children. In fact, right now, inside of Cuba, the main university, the university that Fidel Castro attended, is currently shut down. And so right now, the children and the university students of Cuba are having a hard time getting education.
This is the National University of Cuba. I mean, this is a huge stadium they have, tons of seats, a track, and a football pitch, but it's all just has not been maintained whatsoever. Just the vents are all rusting and eroding. ¿Qué tal la vida aquí en Cuba? How's life here in Cuba?
Más o menos, no tan bien. Hay problemas de transporte y eso, pero...
What would you say the biggest problem is? ¿Qué diría que es el problema más grande para un joven?
El problema grande que hay en Cuba aquí es la luz.
La luz. ¿Cuántas veces al día se cortan la luz? How many times a day do they cut out the lights?
Casi todos los días, de cualquier hora. Cualquier hora.
Yeah, how do you live through that as a young child? ¿Cómo se vive eso mientras que está un joven?
No muy bien. El tema de la luz, además el estudio, muy bien.
So the lights are affecting your entire life. Entonces los luces están afectando toda tu vida.
Cuando viene, a veces no viene más hasta por la mañana, o lo quitan general en Cuba entera. Igual.
We left the university and did the most touristy thing we could do, and that was to hop into a 1950 Chevrolet and tour the city of Havana with one of the local guides. We did this in the hopes that we would have less people following us. However, it just brought even more attention to us when we got back to the hotel.
And how come here you guys still use old cars from the 1950s?
Porque estos son coches tradicionales antes del triunfo de la revolución. Coches del 50, del 59 y quedó de patrimonio de la humanidad y trabajamos para una agencia del gobierno.
So you guys work for the government still?
De gobierno.
Trabaja para
Trabajamos para el gobierno.
And this is kind of a random question, but do you know what a Tesla is? ¿Sabe qué es una Tesla?
No,
No.
no,
¿Nunca he escuchado de un auto que se llama un Tesla?
no,
No. BMW?
tampoco.
Right now in Poly Market, there's a 45% chance that there's a clash between the U.S. military and the Cuban military. Do you think there will be a clash with the two militaries in 2026?
Bueno, eso es lo que pensamos muchos cubanos. Eso es lo que pensamos muchos cubanos porque queremos la mejoría de nuestro país. Para los niños en las escuelas, los hospitales, las casas, los barrios humildes, que tengan una mejoría, ¿me entiendes?
So do you think it would be good if there was some intervention between the two militaries?
Sí, pienso que sí. Pienso que sí. Nosotros lo que queremos es tener la tranquilidad.
¿Qué piensa pasaría? What do you think would happen in that war?
Bueno, no pienso que sea una guerra en total. Pienso que sea una mejoría para el pueblo. Para el pueblo, que es lo que queremos, una mejoría.
Because what's happened here in Cuba has not been good for the general public.
No está pasando bien. No está pasando, no la estamos pasando bien. No es normal que tengamos muchos problemas económicos.
And what do the people of Cuba think about Donald Trump and Marco Rubio?
Bueno, no te puedo decir exactamente qué piensan las personas porque cada cual tiene sus distintos pensamientos. Pero bueno, si es para bien para el pueblo y para nosotros los cubanos, que para bien sea.
Do you think it's necessary for change to happen here in Cuba? ¿Cree que es necesario que hay cambios aquí?
Sí, pienso que sí. Pienso que sí, muchos años, y todo el pueblo quiere que cambie la cosa.
And what would you say the reality of communism is?
Bueno, la realidad del comunismo, unos sí, otros no. Y pienso que el comunismo sea todos iguales. No unos sí y otros no. Tiene que ser todo parejo.
And it's not like that. No, es así.
Y no es así.
Right now, they say 7 out of 10 people here in Cuba are going without their necessary meals here. Would you say that's true?
Es real, es real. Ahora mismo tenemos muchos problemas con el alimento. El aceite, el arroz, los frijoles, la carne, el pollo. Muchos problemas. Todo se está yendo para las pymes. Y todo el mundo no tiene la misma posibilidad de presupuesto para poder comprar los alimentos.
And was this happening before the blockade, or is this just now happening?
Sí, pienso que sí.
So it's not new that this is happening.
No es nuevo.
For how many years have the people of Cuba been suffering?
Bueno, pienso que hace rato ya, pienso que hace tiempo ya que el pueblo está sufriendo por el tema del alimento y muchas cosas que el pueblo sufre, que no se expresa porque tenemos miedo de la libertad de expresión. Porque algunas veces podemos expresar algo que no nos puedan entender y nos perjudica, ¿me entiendes? Por eso es que hay muchas personas que no hablan.
And that's something I have noticed when we have been talking to people is a lot of people are scared to talk about the current situation here in Cuba because of communism, essentially.
Hay muchas personas que no quieren expresar lo que sienten porque tienen miedo a cualquier tipo de situación, a que puedan ir presos, a que le puedan quitar las casas, a muchas cosas como ha pasado, que hay personas que han expresado lo que sienten y han tenido problemas con el gobierno.
And how much does it cost right now for gas?
Ahora tenemos $10 un litro de gasolina y la estamos comprando en Mercado Negro.
And how much?
Ahora mira, no hay gasolina en ningún Cuba. Por eso es que ha subido los impuestos y ha subido todo por el tema del petróleo y la gasolina.
What would be your message to all the people in the world about what's actually happening here in Cuba?
Queremos una mejoría, necesitamos una mejoría para que el pueblo esté bien.
And this is where things began to get really weird. As we arrived back to the hotel, this man began following us. He was all alone and he kept moving as we moved. Security noticed him telling us. We played it cool and left the hotel a few hours later, and after one interview on the street, we caught the web of spies following and monitoring everything I was doing as this man exposed the raw reality of Cuba unfiltered.
What happens at nighttime here in Cuba? ¿Qué pasa aquí en la noche?
En la noche tú la ves vacía, que no hay nada. No hay nada.
There's nothing.
No hay diversión, no hay nada, no hay luz, no hay agua, no hay nada. No hay comida, no hay medicamentos, no hay nada. Yo no sé hasta cuándo vamos a seguir así.
Would you like the United States to come in and have military intervention here?
Claro, va a salir de esta situación. Por supuesto. Va a salir de esta historia.
What is the situation right now?
Que no hay nada. No tenemos luz, no tenemos comida, no tenemos medicamentos, no tenemos la primera necesidad de un hospital. No hay nada, no tenemos nada. No hay un ser humano que pueda vivir así. Es demasiado.
And what would be your message to the rest of the world about the realities of what's happening here in Cuba? ¿Cuál sería su mensaje a todo el mundo de la realidad de lo que está pasando aquí en Cuba?
Te estoy diciendo cuál es la verdad. El que te diga algo que no sea lo que yo te estoy diciendo es porque tiene miedo. Pero es lo que está pasando todo el mundo. Mira, mira esa vieja, mira. ¿Dónde está? Con el perro pidiendo comida. Mírala ahí. A todo el mundo. Que no quiere acá, mírala ahí. Mírala ahí. Mira ahí. Mira. ¿Ven? Mírala ahí. Pregúntale ahí.
Hola, señora.
Explícale a él todo lo que tú estás pasando.
No, pero no para sin video.
Sí, la gente no quiere. The people do not want
Pero
video.
ese es el problema, que la gente no quiere video. Porque la meten presa. Ese es el problema. El problema es que nos meten preso cuando salten por video. Si ahora tú publicas ese video, para si tú publicas ese video, yo voy preso. Preso. Vamos por eso.
What's your thoughts on communism? ¿Qué piensas de comunismo?
Lo más malo que ha existido en la vida. De lo más malo que ha existido en la vida ha sido el comunismo. Porque realmente ninguno es comunista.
What do you mean by that? Ninguna
Lo que
es
hace
comunista.
es enriquecerse y explotar al pueblo, es lo único que hace.
¿Qué significa eso para ti como no hay ninguna comunista? Como que
No, porque no hay, eso no existe. El comunismo es la igualdad del hombre por el hombre, aquí eso no existe. Aquí eso no existe. Todos ellos son los que tienen todo. Ellos tienen luz, ellos tienen los mejores carros del año cristiano, ellos tienen petróleo, ellos tienen gasolina, tienen todo. Y el pueblo no tiene nada. Y las mayores bipimis son de ellos.
¿Y por qué piensa que gente defiende el comunismo cuando hemos visto que no funciona?
No funciona. El que defiende el comunismo, nada más que tiene que ser la familia Castro, o alguien que le tenga miedo, o alguien que vive del gobierno, que se enriquece de esa dictadura.
And right now in the United States, a lot of people think that communism and socialism is the way to go. What would be your message to them? Because they think capitalism has failed them. Mucha gente en los Estados Unidos ahora creen que comunismo y socialismo es la manera de donde deberíamos ir.
No. Eso es lo peor.
¿Qué sería su mensaje a ellos?
Lo peor que existieran, lo peor que tú puedas hacer en la vida es pasar al socialismo, al comunismo, porque es la gran mierda. No existe, hay que te vea la miseria, a la obstinación, al hambre, a la hostigación, a todo. Fíjate que nada de lo que tú puedas, nada del salario, nada más te alcanza para comprar una botella de aceite. ¿Cómo tú crees que tú puedes vivir así? ¿Cómo tú puedes vivir con una libreta de razonamiento que nada más que te dan 3 libras de azúcar y una de sal? Y ya, y cada 15, cada 4, 6 meses, 7 años, te dan una posta de pollo o un huevo. El huevo no viene hace un año. Hace un año que no viene el huevo. Imagínate.
Desde que no ha tomado un
huevo. El huevo tienes que comprarlo. El huevo tienes que comprarlo por la calle en las bipimis. Pero el Estado, la libreta, ya no viene nada. Yo no sé qué significa la libreta, porque ya no viene nada. La remesa que ustedes dan, la ayuda, nos las venden a nosotros después. La ayuda nunca viene al pueblo. Lo que tú traes nunca viene al pueblo. Esa gente que viene, que está trayendo toda esa ayuda tú no la ves. Yo no sé dónde él la entrega, pero esa ayuda tú no la ves.
¿Y qué sería su mensaje a Donald Trump y Marco Rubio?
Donald Trump y Marco Rubio, estoy esperando por ustedes, por favor, para ver si podemos vivir como personas, vivir como ser humano, tener las primeras necesidades como vive un ser humano, porque estamos viviendo peor que los animales. Peor que los animales estamos viviendo.
¿Cree que sería bueno que los Estados Unidos ayuden?
Claro, por supuesto. Todo el mundo está esperando la intervención, porque la gente piensa que la intervención que van a matar a la gente, no. Ya ellos saben los puntos claves, que saben que hay el comité central, que es el punto cero, que sabe, todo el mundo sabe dónde están los castos. Ellos saben dónde están los castos.
¿Qué es un buen sueldo aquí en Cuba?
¿Y este? ¿Me metí la foto?
Ahí está.
¿Estás haciendo una foto?
Wow. And film that lady, okay, shot of her. Wow. And la última pregunta.
This lady had spawned out of nowhere and began spying on us. For instance, look at it. She comes into frame right here, and then she hides behind the lamppost, and then all of a sudden she starts filming us, and then when she goes to the other side of the lamppost, she then begins to act like she's on a phone call. However, she continues to point her camera towards our direction. The guy I'm interviewing then notices that she's filming us, he goes and confronts her, and she runs to the other side of the street. She then turns the corner, and my security guard follows her to see where she goes. And who does she meet up with? She meets up with the man who was following us inside of the hotel. And after we had confirmed that we were being followed by Cuban intelligence and their spies were spying on us, we hurried back up to our hotel room and made a plan to escape Cuba.
She makes her way through the woods to him, and then he goes, no, like saying, don't sit here. Boom, sits there. So they're together, 100%. Come back to the hotel, buddy's there. They're 100% watching us. Option 2 is, there's no more flights out today. They're 100% on to us.
So you think we gotta leave tomorrow morning?
If we're gonna deal with the pressure at one point, which I think we're going to anyways, we do it trying to leave early at the airport where there's public eyes. We're in Cuba, we're in Comington, so this is a different ballgame for all of us. Think we can get out tonight? I was thinking about making a call to see if we were to do that, how far would the U.S. Coast Guard need us to be? They're 1,000%. So with these advantages.
This is literally the North Korea of Latin America, and we have spies on us.
They're 100%. 100%. We're not paranoid. I'm 100% convinced. But if we grab our bags right now, we make an escape, they're going to say, hey, they just took off. They're going to shut this whole bitch down looking for us.
And to make things even worse, Cuba was having their May Day march just outside our hotel in the morning. So all around the hotel, military and Cuba government was surrounding the hotel, protecting the streets for the march the next morning.
My thoughts. So tomorrow, they're going to have the march for the May 1st march. It's a big march. So it starts at 6. They're either going to come for us by 3 or 4, so we have to be out of here by then. And whether that's us bouncing on the city in a pair of 2 and one off on their own, and maybe I'll meet back up, but we have to distract them enough by the time it's our time to board on the airport at 8 a.m. They're too occupied doing this march thing.
We took a bit of a risky move and headed down to the lobby to act as if we had no idea they were spying on us and act very casual. So security puffed on some Cuban cigars, I drank some water, security chatted up with some of the people working at the hotel, and then we went back upstairs and barricaded ourselves into the hotel room for the night. And then at 4 a.m. we made our attempt to escape the hotel.
Alright, 4 a.m. now, we're in the elevator, we're heading down to the bottom of the lobby, and we're making our way out. Right now, the people are gathering out on the streets. We have one of the security guards down the bottom making sure that it's clear for us to walk out of the lobby right now. And now we're heading out, getting on a taxi and making our way to the airport as fast as possible.
One of the security guards was stopped by someone at the hotel as she asked why we are leaving the hotel early, and she would not let us leave. They were stalling for some reason, and then when we did try to make it out to go get a taxi, the guy barely let us out the door, and then when we got out to get a taxi, they called us back in.
We're running into some complications here, just trying to get out. They're asking why we're trying to leave the hotel early.
And they took us into the back room of the hotel, and we had a meeting with a 2-star general who interrogated us for 10 to 15 minutes about why we're trying to leave Cuba, what was our purpose of our travels, what kind of questions we were asking the people on the streets, what kind of footage we got. The general then said we could go, and he said they would get us a taxi to the airport. However, we waited for 5 minutes and there was no taxi. We thought we were about to get set up, so we left the hotel and set off on foot to escape Cuba.
As soon as we made it down to the hotel lobby, they had their guys down there. We had immigration, and they brought us in for an interview. Gabe, so what's the current circumstances that we got going on right now in Cuba? We're trying to find a taxi. We've left the hotel. We're a few miles out now. No taxis or anywhere. How are we getting out of Cuba?
So, number one, second we got downstairs, we had, what you want to call their undercover police, walking through the lobby, just playing it cool, acting like it was nothing. Once you and I came downstairs, and you guys made your way out to the front, 2-star general came out of nowhere, and he asked as politely as possible, but with firm action, like, hey, I need to sit down, we need to talk to you guys. And then he realized that he was pressing, so he's like, hey, could you just bring in your friends so we could talk? And I was like, oh, what's going on? And he goes, I would want to talk inside. That's when he came outside to the outside lobby. I was trying to just engage the conversation there, and he said, I would like to talk inside. We had our conversation. Now they let us leave, and now we're on foot by the university and the hospital, and we got about another 1.5 miles to the airport, 2 miles. So we're on foot. Hopefully we can get a taxi at some point if we don't get squeezed in before.
And there's no taxis out right now. That's a bit of a problem right now. The streets are empty.
Empty, and everybody's going the opposite direction.
By the grace of God, we found one taxi driver in all of Havana who agreed to take us to the airport. The only problem, it's a tricycle that only goes 10 miles per hour.
All right, we got our taxi. All right, so our taxi to the airport. Not the taxi I thought we were gonna get into to make it to the airport. This is our taxi we have right now. It's the only option we had available. We're gonna try to find another car taxi because this is taking too long to get to the airport, and our flight's gonna leave without us. And right now we currently have the entire government of Cuba onto us, knowing that we're trying to leave the country. Now we weren't able to get another taxi. We've been in this taxi for the past hour or so. The suns came up. Finally made it to the airport, and now this is our last stretch in order to get out of Cuba. They might press us one more time inside the airport, so we don't know exactly. We're not out of here for certain, for good. They might make one last push at the airport. They could either ask us some more questions or not let us board our flight. They do have all my camera gear inside the airport right now, so we have to get all of that. And everyone's on the know that we're trying to leave Cuba right now. We'll see if they let us board our commercial flight.
We made it to the airport, and now I had to go get my camera gear that they had seized just 24 hours before. They questioned me for another 30 minutes. They then took one of my security guards, questioned him as well, and then they ended up letting us get onto our
Oh my gosh. Muchas gracias. Gracias. Oh, we're making it on the plane right now. I've never been so happy to make it onto the plane.
I got pulled up by 2 guys. They wanted to do a smooth approach, like, hey, what's going on? Why are you guys here? Why are you guys leaving so soon? You guys got here yesterday. After going back and forth, and I was done with the small talk already. I was like, bro, something's gonna happen, let it happen already. And he's like, I'm like, listen, we had a 2-star general at our hotel at 5 in the morning. You guys are here now. We were pressed all day yesterday. What's up? And he's like, even the president knows that you guys are here.
The president of Communist Cuba knew that we were here.
He knows that we were here. Facts. They know. They've been watching us all day. They know that we're here. So.
Hey, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro?
You might not see way more happier men in the world right now.
Feels like Christmas morning. How are you?
Made it out. Oh my gosh. peso does not really go that far, so the dollar does go.
I'm interviewing, then notices that we left the hotel and set off on foot to escape Cuba.
As soon as we made it down to the hotel lobby, they had their gear for certain, for good. They might make one last push at the airport. They could either ask us some more questions or not let us board our flight. They do have all my camera gear inside the airport right now, so we have to get all of that. And
This black Republican told the truth and called out the far radical left wing.
75 years ago, it was fair to say that if you looked like me, your voting record would be useful and constructive in supporting other people who look like me. What has happened now is that a far radical left group of people who happen to look like me are holding these spots, and even black Americans aren't agreeing with them. We've seen black Americans say, we want more law enforcement in our communities, not less. But they're Washington representatives, we want less law enforcement. We've seen more black Americans challenge what is clearly a radical left progressive orthodoxy. And the Supreme Court said today that it will not enshrine into the Constitution that radical left orthodoxy is always going to get a seat.
This black Republican told the truth and called out the far radical left wing. Lydia upset this smug CNN panelist with the truth she didn't want to hear.
People are fed up with New York and California government. I think Spencer Pratt is sort of a bright spot for the GOP right now.
You keep bringing up California and New York. The question is about Florida.
Well, everyone from California and New York is leaving to go to Florida.
Run by Republicans, and they're not doing well. So says the Republican senator.
Why is everyone leaving New York and California? Why is everyone going to Florida?
California and New York to the question about
If it's such a fabulous economy, why is New York bankrupt? Why is trillions of dollars leaving?
Here's the thing. It's not even really about Florida versus New York or Florida versus California. It's really more about if Florida is doing better than all the other parts of the country, then why is Rick Scott so worried?
I haven't specifically looked at the job creation numbers in Florida. What I can tell you is the GOP is very excited about Spencer Pratt and what's happening there, and noting the disastrous rule that's happening in New York with Mamdani. He can't balance a budget. In California with Karen Bass, I'm seeing homeless people shoot up in front of school.
Lydia upset this smug CNN.
Horace cuts through the panel's charade with one brutal fact.
At present, all we got is Orange Man bad from the partisan opponents, and then the president bringing a strategy some may argue is a mixed bag. The tariffs maybe aren't
Sir, I'm not Orange Man bad. There's a war no one wanted. There's healthcare that no one can get. There's foreclosures that are through the roof. People can't afford homes. It's not Orange Man bad.
Well,
if the economy is terrible, we're in a war, we have no healthcare, our education is terrible, they're gerrymandering the entire country so our votes aren't heard. Data centers are being built everywhere that people don't want them. So here we go, and I'm saying,
okay, hold on. If I may, if your solution is the federal government is going to do all of these things to make it better, there has been no example throughout recorded history of that working. In fact, everywhere on the planet where you give free health care, where you give all of this
every
assistance,
single country that's a peer nation of ours
actually
work.
Horace cuts through the panel's charade with one brutal fact.
That bitch got derangement syndrome.
You know, things come up missing from time to time. My trailer had a RX-7 just sitting here on the line and it just disappears. My trailer, my RX-7 four-wheeler, and I did have a work truck broke into one time. Took about $10,000 worth of tools out of it. I haven't ever got any of the things that were stolen back.
Today, I'm at my pastor's house because he's had over $60,000 worth of stuff stolen from his yard, and I figured it was time to put a stop to that once and for all. At first, I couldn't understand why Pastor Billy Ray was being targeted again and again, but after seeing that there was a busy road on side of his house that gave a clear line of sight to all this stuff, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I'm gonna build him a solid fence around his entire property. I'm gonna set him a workshop right over there. Nobody gonna ever come over here and steal anything again. I'm gonna take care of it, bro. All right, bro. All right, man. I was able to get a good deal on it. They sold it to me for $3,900, and this is a 12 by 16. The lot owners want to deliver by Friday, so I'm gonna have to get out here and put some work in. I got 2 days to do this. Thought I had a week. The whole reason I went out and spent extra money and bought this shed in the first place is so that I didn't have to build it myself, because I wanted to take extra time to fix it up real nicely. But with the new delivery deadline falling out of the sky, I was feeling more rushed than ever, and even for me, this was a tall order for 2 days. Now, by some miracle, it all came together just as the clock ran out. But with the deadline barely met, I was now facing a major storm on the day of delivery. But this is Louisiana, y'all, so if it's not flooding, we don't really let nothing stop us. So we went on ahead and got the shed installed anyway. Everything else came out absolutely beautiful until I tried to rent a mini skid steer to dig some fence post holes. I looked everywhere and just didn't have any luck finding one. So I called my good friend Stetson and I bought one, and he delivered it right to my house. And this thing is not only going to help me with this project, but I'm pretty sure it's going to make all my future projects a whole lot easier. So after giving it a few days to allow the rain to stop, I was back at Pastor House, ready to test out my new machine and also try and get some work done. The initial plan was to close in past the yard right here to there with a gate. But just like any homeowner, he wanted as much land inside his fence as possible. So we decided to stop right here, the vinyl fence, and for the rest of the yard, doing something like a ranch style fence just to close it in. We don't know exactly what we're gonna do yet, but I know it's gonna look nice. It might take us a few days to see the results, but in a few minutes, y'all gonna see it, so just hold on. So y'all, at first, this should have only been a 2-day project, but when Pastor asked that I extend his yard out to give him much more of his property, this became more than just a goal to secure his backyard and started to turn into a full transformation. And since I was already going that far, I figured I'd use this opportunity to raise Pastor's property value. Look like the rain want to continue to play with us out here. Oh well, it ain't gonna stop us though. I think it might be over with her, to be honest with you. This one I was getting ready to start doing my thing, y'all. Here we go again. I knew I should have called it quick, y'all. Now, trying to wash down the equipment and put it all up. I should have called it quick an hour ago. I was beginning to think that maybe God was having second thoughts about his promise to Noah. But when I showed up today, for the first time in a long time, we had no rain in the forecast. But I didn't have time to celebrate because the Louisiana rainy season really put me way behind schedule. And now I was in a tight spot to where I had to get all the posts set in just half a day. Of course, I'm not gonna build a whole fence today. At least I could try and set all the posts because I got a charity event that I'm going to on tomorrow. I won't be back till later this week. Now, whatever I don't get done today, I'm gonna have to do it when I get back. And if I have to wait on concrete to dry again, I might not be able to finish at Pastor House because I have another project that's lined up that has a unmovable start date.
What is looking like?
Looking good, looking good. Can't never let an old man out work. I'm the old man in this situation. There you go, just knocking in there like that. So right here, I was beginning to think that we might just be able to pull this off today. But that was only if we was able to keep this pace up. If it's too shallow, we got to cut the post. We just let it fall and just pick up the loose shape.
I work harder when you can work smarter.
Rad is 2x4. We just using it for mid.
Oh, we on money. Yeah, we actually on money.
It ain't going as good as I thought it would go. I'm redigging all the holes that I dug this morning because we used the
wrong way of measuring our fence posts. The sun is going down. And with the sun going down, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish all this today.
Now, y'all, it was no mistake that we ended up in this situation. Let's just say that there was a member of our team that had a bright idea of how we could measure all the post holes, and without verifying that that measurement actually worked, we just dug all the holes. But moments like this is where we get better as a team anyway, because if you never make mistakes, I don't think you'll ever learn anything.
God's good, y'all. He's good. Whenever you give up hope, just know he still got it. I think we got 5 minutes or something like that on our last pole. I can actually smile today.
While Dee was wrapping up the last few things, I caught up with Pastor to discuss what we were going to do with the fence in the front yard.
We'll go ranch stop, and instead of leaving the gaps open, we're just gonna go with the metal mesh.
As long as you got the idea, you know what I'm looking for.
I'll take care of you back.
Hi, baby.
My man.
So later that night, Pastor called me and told me that he actually wanted something different in the front yard from what we originally planned. So I told him I'd see what I could do, but I was really focusing on getting some rest because in less than 10 hours, I was going to be 800 miles away. So after barely finishing on yesterday, I went home and got a little bit of rest because I knew when I woke up today, I had a mission. And with only 5 hours of sleep, I packed my bags and headed to the airport. But while I was traveling, I started to really think about Pastor Project, and the number one thing I knew I forgot was to make sure I planned out a budget. I mean, I told myself this whole thing should take about $6,000, but I already spent $4 grand on the workshop, a little over $500 on concrete, and another $200 on paint. And I'm extremely blessed that the vinyl fence was provided as a gift, because when it comes to the wooden fence, you might as well just add another $3,500. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is that I'm already over budget.
We come here to build 10,000 beds, and I had no idea how big this place was. I'm about to have some fun. Let's get to work here, because in less than 24 hours, I'm gonna be back on the ground at Pastor House.
I just flew over 800 miles to help build 10,000 beds for kids all around the country. And with that amount of work lined up, it really helped me take my mind off of that blown budget. But y'all, being that I've already blown the budget, I know that if I continue to do that, I could end up in some serious debt easily. But that's not in the plans. But if it ever does happen, I know exactly who to contact, and that's the sponsor of this video, PDS Debt. They can help you get out of debt, put money back in your pocket to where you can breathe and you can stop ignoring all those phone calls month after month and start to get your life back. But you can head to pdsdebt.com/Uncle John, where you can get a consultation completely for free, which really is a price that you just can't beat.
And just like I expected, Pastor already started putting the fence up. It's not a man that's gonna sit around and wait, y'all. I guess how I finished the job.
Pastor didn't really leave me much work to do, y'all, and I was really starting to discover that maybe he was the hero in his own story. Because I came over here to help him protect his yard while he go out fishing or spend time with his grandson. But y'all, this man was really working more hours than me. Because anytime I come to his house and work, he was right on side of me working. And anytime I had to take a break to do something else, he just kept working. And to be honest, it was really nothing to complain about because like I said, I thought I had this project finished in 2 days. And now it was really starting to look like it was going to take a full week or two. So any amount of time or energy that he saved me was much appreciated.
To the easy part. Yeah. Never think we at the easy part. Yeah, that's enough. Just hit down on it. All right, keep on. All right. Hey, Ruby, that's your job.
That's in there?
Yeah.
So the first couple of pieces went in real easy, but y'all already know there's always that one that's gonna try and test you.
Tight down. Yeah, you just had that thing jammed up. I don't know why you want to do that thing.
The hallway.
Put this on there and tell the pastor was out there making it happen. A new hired hand. When you made me work up a sweat.
I don't feel right unless I go home wore out.
It just fell around and play. Judge, I know you can hear me talking about reading the manual. You know, I ain't never even looked at it.
Never even look at it. If I don't go home wore out, I ain't do nothing.
So after really struggling for a few hours to complete something that a 10-year-old should be able to do, it was time for me to switch gears and start focusing on the fence that we were going to build in the front yard.
These poles are kind of high. At first, the plan was to build like a 4-foot ranch style fence, but he called me last night and he was like, hey bro, I would really like for that fence to be a full private fence. I don't want nobody to see nothing in my yard. And I was like, let's do it. Everybody always asking me like what school I went to. I went to Home Depot and Lowe's like 6 times. That's what school I went to.
Now, like I told y'all, Pastor changed his mind on the ranch style fence. And to be honest, I'm really kind of happy that he chose to do that. And when he made that decision, I was all for it because I was trying to make the same type of decision at my house, but my wife just wasn't having it. You see, I wanted my whole yard enclosed just like Pastor's, but my wife only wanted me to close the backyard with a fence so people could still see the house from the street.
So I had somebody in the comments ask me, how do you build a fence with a skid steer? Well, really the skid steer isn't building a fence. It's just to make my job a whole lot easier because right now I would have been unloading and carrying all this stuff all around the yard. And I would have been exhausted before we even got to building a fence. So you don't build a fence with a skid steer.